Udico versus Corona. Step forward.
Accountant Michelle Udico is suing her ex-boyfriend, plumber Stephen Corona, for ramming her Toyota 4Runner with his truck. Stephen claims Michelle is making up a story.
Miss Udico, this gentleman used to be your boyfriend, and according to your complaint, he got angry with you one evening and he intentionally damaged your truck. And Mr. Corona says that while he was angry that evening, he didn't do anything to your car, right?
That's correct.
Tell me when Mr. Corona damaged your car.
That evening, after I dropped him off at home.
What evening?
May 21st a.m., May 20th, midnight.
And where had you been?
We were first at my house, and we got into an argument, and then I dropped him off at his house.
What did you get into an argument about?
Just general things, what couples normally get in arguments about.
I usually get into an argument with my husband about how many pairs of shoes I bring home.
Okay.
So what were you arguing about?
You know, I don't recall what the argument was about, but we got into one, and I dropped him off at home like he wanted to go. He wanted to leave, so I took him home.
What time?
It's probably about 10 or 11 at night.
And where did you go when you dropped him off?
I went over to his house.
What's his name?
This is my friend Frank. And I was there with a couple of friends. We were sitting on the front porch, and then that's when he showed up.
And Mr. Corona, you acknowledged that you came looking for her.
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And what happened when he came looking for you?
Well, he had asked for me to get into my truck and go home, to let's go home.
When he told you to get into your truck and let's go home, was he in his car or out of his car?
He was out of his car at the time. He parked next to my car on the street, and he got off of his car and pretty much demanding for me to leave. And with the look in his eyes pretty much looked violent, and I did not want to go, so I didn't.
He told you to get in the car and go home?
Yeah.
And what did you say to him?
Well, I was going to go, but then I turned around and I said, no, I'm not going.
What did you say to him?
I didn't say anything to him.
When he said get in the car, did you tell him okay?
Yeah, I said okay. Yeah,
well, that's what I'm asking you. That's what I'm asking. It's not a hard question. Okay. I'm just trying to follow the events. What happened starting from once upon a time and ending with the end. So he got out of his car and he said, get in the car, I want you to go home. He says he acknowledges he said that to you, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you said, okay.
Right.
And he says that that's what you said. You said you would follow him, right?
She said she was going to go home to meet her there.
But then you decided not to go home.
Yes, I decided not to go home.
So you turned around and you said to your friend,
right,
Frank.
Correct.
Frank, could you sit up, please? Stop. Good. Thank you, Frank. You said to Frank and his friends, I'm not going with him.
That's correct.
And you went back to the porch.
Right.
So far, your stories are exactly the same. But here's where we come to a fork in the road.
Right.
What happened next, Miss Udico?
Well, he got upset. He got into his car, and he wrecked into my car, which was not good enough for him, so he sped off and made a U-turn and came back around and wrecked even more into my car. And then
what do you mean wrecked? I don't know.
He wrecked his car into my car.
You mean he hit his car into your truck?
Yes, he hit his car into mine. So.
And he did that twice?
He did it twice.
Mr. Corona?
Yes, ma'am.
I've read your answer, and you flatly deny that this is the way it happened. So I have a few questions for you.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Corona.
Yes.
What did you have an argument with Miss Udico about that evening?
We were arguing about her staying home and her wanting to go out. And I was trying to get her to stay home, but she insisted on leaving. She told me that she had to get up to go to work in the morning. That's why she wanted to drop me off, because usually I stay the night there. And it was kind of odd that she wanted me to go home, because she actually picked me up, and usually I drive over there, but she picked me up earlier, and then she dropped me off. You know, she insisted on dropping me off.
I don't... Excuse me, ma'am.
So, you cared about her a lot?
Sure. Very much so.
You the jealous type?
No, but I...
A little bit?
Sure, isn't everybody?
I don't know. Depends upon if you've got something to be jealous about. So let me understand this, Mr. Corona. Your girlfriend tells you she's got to get up early in the morning and she drives you home.
That's what she said.
You've got something in the back of your head that says, what's your first name?
Steve.
Steve. Steve, something's not kosher here. Because I usually spend the night, so I'm going to get into my car and go and look for her. Right? That's what you did.
Exactly.
And you're driving around, and something said, why don't you go over to old Frank's house?
Mm-hmm.
So you had the feeling maybe she was over there fooling around with Frank, right?
Possibly.
Well, you were going to give it a look-see anyway, right?
Sure.
I mean, is that what happened? Sure, that's where your car ended up.
Sure.
And then, sure enough, your girlfriend of a year and a half who had to get up early to go out to do something the next day, there she was, sitting, chilling with Frank on the porch. And you double parked your car next to hers.
Exactly next to hers on the side, parallel.
And you got out of the car and you said, I want you to get into the car and come home with me. Right?
And she said
and
yes.
she said...
She said yes.
Yes.
She said, I'm going to follow you. I'll meet you at my house.
I'm going to follow you home. I'm going to meet you home. And then she didn't.
That's right.
And then, according to your answer, you went home and went to sleep.
That's right.
That's wrong.
First, before that, before I went home, I went to her house and I waited in the front for her at her house.
Just a second. So you actually followed her direction and you went home.
Yeah. No.
How long did you sit in your car in front of her house waiting for her?
About 20 minutes.
Until he broke into my house.
Don't speak. 20 minutes?
About 20 minutes.
20 minutes. And while you were waiting this 20 minutes, did you start to get upset?
No.
No. You started
By
to
that-
get, just a second, you started to get, if you weren't upset, did you start to get hungry?
I was.
Shh. Did you start to get hungry? Tired?
Yeah, tired, yes.
So you were tired?
Yes, I was
and
tired.
You said, forget it.
Exactly.
She made a fool out of me.
I'm done with it.
I'm finished with
That's
her.
right.
She made a real fool out of me this time because she made a fool out of me earlier in the evening when she drove me home. And she was maybe going to have somebody else come and stay over, but it wasn't going to be me that night. And now I went over there and made a fool out of myself in front of other people. And she made a bigger fool out of me, so you went home and went to sleep.
I threw in the towel.
Could I see the pictures of the car, please? You have a police report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it. Well, you made the report the very next day.
Right.
What happened? Did they ever come to see you, Mr. Corona? The police?
No, ma'am.
They never came to see you?
No, ma'am.
You live in Los Angeles?
Yes.
They're probably real busy. Mr. Corona, I'm going to ask a question, but you don't even have to answer, Mr. Corona. I want you to look at my face. It's a nice face, right? You wouldn't lie to this face, Mr. Corona, would you? So I don't even want you to answer me, sir. Did it feel good? Did it feel good? It's going to cost you $2,284.56. I hope it felt that good. Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
18-year-old warehouse worker Kim Denning and her mother Kathy are suing Kim's cousin, propeller engineer Alan DeVellin, for the return of a computer and for unauthorized charges on a credit card.
All rise. Yes, case number 295 on the calendar, the matter of Denning versus DeVellin. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Mrs. Denning, this is your daughter, is that right?
Yes, she is.
One face. You don't see it. It's like looking in a mirror.
She's much prettier.
She's younger. That's all. That's all. Just younger. She's lucky if she's your age and she turns out as nice looking as you are. Anyway, this is your daughter and this is your nephew.
Yes.
And it is your claim that your nephew took advantage of your daughter, sold a computer that you had given her, used a credit card. Your daughter's 18, is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
I haven't heard what she has to say about it, but your nephew, who has had some history, according to you, with the law and had been incarcerated for 9 years?
No,
How long?
7.
7 years. He's back to his old tricks and really took property that didn't belong to him and used a credit card without permission. He says that your daughter had some trouble. She needed some money. She sold him the computer. He sold it to somebody else.
Yes.
And he did use her credit card, gave her the money
Yes.
for the things that he used, and he has done absolutely nothing wrong. Now, Kim, there came a time when you left your mother's home, is that right?
Yes.
When was that?
June 30th?
June of 2004.
Yes.
Where did you go?
I was going to pick up my cousin to have him go with me to Texas.
You were going to Texas. Where did you live?
At that time, I was with my grandma.
How long had you been with your grandmother?
A couple weeks.
How come?
I just wanted to live with my grandma.
Had you had an argument with your mother?
I just didn't want to have her curfew anymore.
Yeah. Did you have an argument with your mother?
Yes.
All right. Now, you picked up your cousin, and he was taking you to Texas. Or you were driving to Texas, but to see your boyfriend. Why were you taking your cousin with you?
I didn't want to go alone.
Is that so far correct?
Yeah.
Now, what credit card bills, Kim, do you say Alan racked up on your credit cards that he didn't pay you for?
I allowed him to use my Sears credit card once, and I gave him the card, and he never paid to make the payments, and he never made a payment on that.
What was he supposed to buy on the Sears credit card?
The only purchase that I said he could use was for some tires for his truck, and he said he would pay me back as soon as he got his first paycheck.
And how much were the tires on his truck?
They were $300 and something, ma'am.
$383.
Did you give up the money back?
I've been paying payments, you know, to my aunt and my cousin.
That's a lie.
Shh.
Yeah, right.
Show me.
I don't have any receipts from her. My aunt was supposed to drop them off at my grandmother's house.
Oh, that's a lie.
Yeah,
Listen, Miss
right.
Denning, if you speak out again, I'm going to dismiss your case. Do you
Yeah.
understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Been warned?
Yes,
Warned?
yes.
You understand?
I do.
Don't speak to him.
I also have a thing from a Sears credit card where I took full responsibility of the credit card.
Let me see.
There you go. From City Financial.
Let me see that.
Okay, this says the balance amount is $484.68. Part of that was for tires.
Right.
And part of it was for what else?
There was I think like a mattress cover on there and a watch.
So, Alan, you agree that these are your purchases?
Yes, I do.
So it doesn't make any difference, Alan, whether you pay this money to the plaintiff so that she makes sure that her credit is clean and not having to rely on you, right?
Well, if I'm paying the credit card company...
Listen to me, Alan. It wouldn't make any difference to you whether you paid the credit card company or whether you paid the plaintiff. Just because you agreed to accept responsibility doesn't mean that they're letting her off the hook.
I'm not saying
I'm not
saying that they're letting her off the hook. They already tried to file criminal charges on me on all this. That takes it out of their name and puts it in mine.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I've already talked to the Sears.
Alan, my dear, that is not what it says. All it says is you've agreed to take responsibility for it. That doesn't say that if you don't pay, they cannot go against the card holder. Do you understand?
Oh, yeah, I understand.
Good. So you owe a $484.68. What else?
There was a JCPenney's that I had bought him some clothes from there, and he said he would also pay those back, and he never paid that back either.
How much was that?
That came to $97.15.
No, I have no knowledge of that.
Show me.
All we have is the credit card statement and the payment, because he had gave me $60 and we made a payment towards that.
So he gave you money?
$60. That was all he had
Gave a lot
given me
more
the
than
whole
that.
time.
Shh. What else?
The computer.
There was also my computer that I had taken over to his house that he had sold. It had a computer lock on it, a security lock, and he hooked it up and asked me if I could take the code off. So I took the code off of it, and then at that time he had sold his computer to his mother. And then a few days later, my computer was gone, and there was a brand new Dell flat screen computer that was sitting in his camper. And when I asked him where mine was, he said it was in his truck. And then I didn't think anything of it, and that weekend I went to Indy and stayed with my mom for that weekend. And then when I got back, that's when I found out that he had sold it to his girlfriend's father for $100.
Go.
Okay. On the computer, she came down. You know, the computer sat back in my truck for I think about a week. It was 90-degree heat. The flat screen got ruined. Sent it to the shop. Okay, on the other part of it, she had me going around the pawn shop trying to sell it to get the best price, so I just gave her $50 for it.
What do you mean she had you going around the...
Yeah, she tried to get me to sell it in front of my aunt, my mother, and everybody. Everybody knew about this.
Try to get him to sell the computer?
No, ma'am.
Oh, jeez. Damn, why?
I believe you probably did. You know why? Because you looked all around when you said no, ma'am. Miss Denning, you know nothing about it. Nothing. All you know is that your teenage daughter left home because she didn't like the rules. She went to her grandmother's house. She left her grandmother's house. She hooked up with her cousin. And then when she decided to come home, she's got to put together something that makes sense out of what she was doing when she was out of your home. So I'm not so sure that she didn't try to sell this computer because he already had a computer, because she needed some cash. But where is the computer now?
The computer is at the Putnam County Sheriff's Department if they haven't already picked it up. Because when they filed charges, I went down and bought it back from her dad, which was $150 where I bought it back. I got the receipt from him, and this is the property receipt for the computer.
Can I see it, please?
From the Sheriff's Department.
Can I see it, please?
You said you sold it for $100.
No.
What kind of computer did you have?
The monitor was Samsung, the tower was HP, and the printer was Concord or Cord.
It's at the sheriff's office. So you take this and you go and get your computer back.
Yeah, they said they tried to contact her several times.
Ma'am, they don't have the monitor to the computer.
It's not on here.
The monitor...
They know what happened to the monitor. It got fried sitting in the back of my truck from 90-degree heat. I took it to the shop. As I explained to them, it was going to cost $200 some odd, and they wanted me to go buy it.
Okay. That's what's there, madam. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Go get it. You owe her $484.68. Instead of paying it to the credit card company, you give it to her so she can clean up her credit. Do you understand? Do you... Listen to me.
I have a question. If I've already made arrangements with the credit card company and they say they can sue me over this, which is the liability form and all that other stuff, how do I pay them, then turn around and pay them too?
No.
I'm not doing it.
No, listen! What I am telling you, sir, is the bank, while it says it's very nice that you agree to accept full responsibility, still has the ability to go against Kim, who signed the papers. You see, they're not relieving her of liability. They're just saying, oh, that's nice, we'll come against you first. But if you can't pay, we're going against her. And what I'm saying to you is you don't have to pay twice, only once. She is going to make the payment of $484 and change, and then you're off the hook. Do you understand? Off the hook with the credit card company, and she doesn't have to rely on your goodwill to make the payments. Do I make myself clear? All I want to know, not whether you agree with it. You don't have to agree.
Yeah, I know.
This isn't that kind of an arrangement that you and I have, sir. You don't have to agree.
Oh, I know.
All I'm asking you is, do you understand what I said? Good. Judgment for the plaintiff, the amount of $484.63. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He signed his own name to some of the credit cards, but I didn't even authorize the purchases too.
She's lying through her teeth, you know, on everything she says.
She just tried to help him out, and he abused his family.
My family's neurotic.
He paid $60, and that was it. He's been in prison for, what, 9 years?
Don't do business or anything with family, you know.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Dinatelli versus Simonson, step forward, please.
Engineer Jay Dinatelli is suing fellow dog owners, 23-year-old Jessica Simonson and her father, Eric Simonson, for injuries to his hand and legs. Jay says he suffered leash burns when Jessica's pit bull attacked his dogs.
Husband and wife?
Father-daughter.
Father-daughter. Never can tell. It's Hollywood. Whose dog is it?
He was mine.
What kind of dog was he?
Staffordshire Terrier.
That's pit bull.
Yes, ma'am.
And how long did you have him?
2 years.
Where is he now?
I'm assuming he was given to another home after I released him to the SPCA when I had to move and get rid of him.
You had to move from where to where?
From the house I was living in into a different house, which did not allow me to keep him.
So you don't know where he is?
Correct.
How old are you?
23.
What's your father doing here?
He's property owner where the incident happened.
Okay. So you're walking your dogs on a leash.
Yes, Your Honor.
And out from nowhere comes a pit bull.
As you know, I was walking my dogs on the levee, and suddenly my dogs alerted to something in back of me. I turned around, and there's a pit bull just charging towards me from about 150 feet away. It was very aggressive. It ran straight up to my dogs, tail straight in the air, very dominant posture, and quite frankly, I was terrified. I yelled at the dog to go home, paid no attention to me. About a minute later, I saw Miss Simonson emerge. She yelled something at her dog. The dog paid no attention to her. I yelled at her to control your dog, and at that point she strolled towards us, which I found kind of amazing that she wasn't sprinting down the levee. She grabbed for the dog on 2 or 3 different occasions, and every time she reached down to grab her dog, it would scoot away, and in the scuffle, the leashes got wrapped around me, and that's how I got my injuries.
Tell me about your injuries.
The injuries were both to my hand and to both of my legs. They were burn-type injuries produced by the retractable leash. I've got photos of them if you'd like.
I'd like to see them.
I was wearing walking shorts at the time, so both of my legs were bare. The worst injury was the injury to my pinky finger, but they were all pretty bad injuries. It caused me a lot of pain for a week, and the injury to my hand took a full month to heal. I have a permanent scar right now.
Can I see it, please? Step up. I see it there, right here.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Frightening, scary, but you don't do hand commercials, right?
I'm a professor, so I lecture for a living, but
Right.
no, I don't do hand commercials.
Okay.
You're right.
One of the other things I was interested in is that you indicate that when you made an investigation, you discovered that this was not the first complaint of this dog being out unattended.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Do you have any proof of that,
Yes,
sir?
I do.
When did this incident happen?
January 3rd of 2003, and those complaint reports show that there were 4 formal complaints filed against this dog and this owner within the previous 18 months.
Did you know that there had been prior violations filed, that the dog was out?
No, ma'am, I was not aware
But you
of that.
did.
I was not aware of 4 of them, no.
How many were you aware of?
2?
2's enough. This dog hurt somebody else in the same kind of circumstances. White pit bull jumped the fence this morning. The complainant fell back and injured back trying to keep the dogs apart.
I was in LA at the time.
Who cares where you were? All right, I'll hear you.
My version of what happened was I let my dog out to go to the bathroom.
What do you mean you let your dog out to go to the bathroom?
I opened the sliding glass door to let him out into the backyard.
How many violations had you had at that time? 2, according to you?
That I'm aware of, yes.
I don't care what your version is. You just answered your own question. You just resolved this lawsuit. This lawsuit says that you were negligent, careless, and as a result of that, he was injured. Don't you get it? You knew you had a dog that twice caused other people to call and register complaints, and instead of putting your pants on and putting the dog on a leash, you opened the door and let him out.
I was out there with him.
Who cares? Do you get it, Mr. Simonson?
Yes, ma'am, I...
Good, I'm glad you both get it.
However, I disagree that the dog is potentially vicious. This dog is
I
never...
don't care what you believe. The dog caused injury to him. Don't be a fool. The dog was not within the control of his owner.
I agree with that, Your Honor.
Perfect. I don't know whether or not your injuries are worth $5,000, which is what you're suing for, but their stupidity is worth $5,000. And the lesson to be learned is worth $5,000, that when you have a dog that is capable of causing serious physical injury or death, you don't open the door and let the dog out to go to the bathroom alone. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I did agree that it was my fault that the dog got out, but I didn't feel that his damages were worth $5,000.
The dog assumed a dominant, aggressive stance.
He was a 2-year-old puppy just trying to go play with a guy and his dogs.
The incident that I reported was consistent with the other incidents that were on file with animal control.
I didn't feel that he was aggressive at all.
It didn't have to happen. That dog had terrorized that neighborhood for 18 months.
This dog had never bit anyone, had never been in a dog fight.
This is not an animal that is appropriate for residential neighborhoods, as far as I'm concerned.
It's all an unfortunate situation. I don't even have the dog anymore, and that's upsetting to me just to begin with.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Trathan versus Riffett, step forward, please.
Maintenance technician Joseph Trathan is suing his ex-girlfriend, inventory auditor Joelle Riffett, for the balance on a Dodge Stratus. Joelle claims the vehicle is Joseph's responsibility.
Mr. Trathan, according to your complaint, the defendant, who was your girlfriend, you have a child together, owes you for some money for a car.
Yes.
And Miss Riffett, I don't know. I tried to figure out her answer, but it was all kind of very soft. She says you agreed to assume the losses for the car when you sold it. However, we're going to ferret out the truth. When did you purchase this car along with Miss Riffett? And what year?
I co-signed, I believe, in 01.
When did you buy the car?
June of 2000.
What kind of car did you buy?
A Dodge Stratus.
It was your car.
Yes.
And he co-signed the loan because you couldn't get it without his co-signature. Is that right?
We actually were both on the loan equally. It was
because you couldn't get it by yourself.
It was a lower interest that way.
Because you couldn't get it by yourself.
Yes.
And you kept the car from June of 2000 until when?
April 2004.
And what did you do with it?
Well, what happened was I left the house. I left him in October, and I tried maintaining the payments.
October of 2003?
Yes.
Okay.
So I was doing it. I had an apartment on my own, and I was trying to raise both my children. And I was having a hard time struggling making the payments because they were $330. And we had discussed it, and I asked him if he can help me out by taking the car because I can't afford it no more, so I can get a less expensive car. And the day before I gave it back to him, I called him and said, hey, Nissan called me, and they said they got a car for me for $4,500, which made my payments to be $170. Are you still willing to take it? Because I still had one more day to tell Nissan I didn't want it if he didn't agree. So he said, yeah, that's fine. We made arrangements. I dropped it off the car, and I put both sets of keys underneath the driver's seat. And after that, after I dropped it off on the 30th, I thought everything was done and fine. We were on good terms. I wasn't expecting any of this.
How much child support does he pay?
He pays me $205 now, but at the time...
Don't tap.
Okay.
$205 a what?
A week.
And how much child support do you get from the father of your other child?
$100 a week.
So you get twice that from him.
Now.
What were you getting before?
He was only giving me $100 a week.
And when did it double? Put your hand down.
September.
You're the girlfriend?
I'm the fiance, ma'am.
Fiance. We don't need you. We don't need to hear from you.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry.
Good.
On September 27th, we went to court, and that's when they distinguished $205 a week.
Now, sir, Ms. Riffett says that you agreed to take... Stop shaking your head. You look like making me seasick. Ms. Riffett says that you agreed to take the car and sell it. I assume sell it. Is that right?
No.
Well, tell me what you agreed to do.
I agreed to try to help her sell the car. I talked to my neighbors and people at work, try to get rid of the car if I could.
Well, when she told you she wanted to get rid of the car, what did you say to her?
I said I would try... I would say I would try to help you get rid of the car if I could. If I can't, that's your responsibility. It was your car. I'm not going to take the loss.
You told her that? You told her those things?
Yes.
Yeah.
I said it's not my...
And what happened when she dropped the car off with the keys at your house?
Well, I didn't want to take on the responsibility of the extra car payment, or if I couldn't make it, going against my credit. So I gave myself like a month time limit to try to get rid of it because my neighbor was talking to her mom about trying to buy it. And then she got a hold of me. I couldn't sell it to her, so I went to CarMax, see how much they could offer to me for it.
Why didn't you try to sell it privately, put an ad in the paper?
Because I didn't want to continue making the payments. And also, if she's saying she couldn't afford it, when she moved out of the house, we split the equity in the house. I gave her a $10,000 check for the equity of the house several months later, which she knew she was going to get money for that.
You shouldn't have taken the car, sir. You have to have a contract with her.
I didn't take it. She left it on me.
Not have taken the car. You should have taken it back to her with the keys and said, this is your problem. This is your car. You've had it for 4 years. I'm not doing anything with it. But once you assume the responsibility by trying to sell it and then going ahead and selling it to somebody else, you can't come back against her for the difference. You didn't have a contract with her.
I was trying to do her a favor. That's it.
That's fine. You did her a favor. You did do her a favor.
Yeah.
Then what are you bothering me for?
Because, and then she's saying she couldn't afford it, but she, gave it to me in April? That's 5 months later.
You have to have a contract with her. An agreement, oral, written. And the oral or written agreement says, if you sell the car at a loss, I will pay the difference. You didn't have that contract with her.
No, but I know I couldn't let it sit there and not have anyone make payments on it. She could have given me
What
half
happens,
the
sir,
money.
is that after she stops making payments, they're going to repossess the car. If she let that happen. Now, she may not have let that happen because she has a job and she doesn't want her credit destroyed. But once you assume the responsibility by selling the car without a contract, oral or written, with her, you cannot then come to court and say, well, she should have done this. She should have made the payments. She should not have put me in that position. She should not have dropped the car off at my house. She dropped the car off, you took the car, and you sold it. That's your problem.
But I was trying to do the right thing.
Good.
And I didn't want it affecting my credit. It would have been too late if I would have waited for something like that.
I have to tell you, sir, I'm very sympathetic with you. You should not have done it. This is a court. Courts deal with contracts. You did not have a contract with her.
I have
So
contracts
you're out
of
of
how
luck.
much I paid
Sorry.
on it.
Why does that excuse you? Let's step out.
I was trying to do the right thing, trying to help her out, do her a favor, and in turn she turned around and screwed me, and I guess that's what I get for doing that.
I think he took it upon himself. He didn't give me the car back, and that's not my problem anymore.
She screwed me on the house, she screwed me on the car.
He had no car payment at the time. He was giving me $100 a week. That's the least he could have done.
She's done everything she can. She's gotten every little dime she could get from me on the house, the car.
Hopefully this will be the final thing, and we can actually be parents to my child now.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Power versus Power. Step forward, please.
Homemaker Mary Power is suing her daughter, administrative assistant Catherine Power, for the cost of a cruise from New York to Canada.
Ms. Power, this is your daughter.
Yes, it is.
And I gather from reading your petition that at this point in your lives you're not happy with each other.
No, we're not.
So this is what the case is about. Your family was planning to go away on a cruise together, so I assume you all got along. You have children?
Yes.
How many?
2.
And they were going on the cruise also?
Yes.
How many of your brothers and sisters were going?
2. 2 sisters.
And Mrs. Power, what you tell me in your petition is that your daughter paid for the cruise, and then the cruise company went bankrupt.
Correct.
And everybody was really disappointed, and according to what you tell me, I read, you made arrangements for a second cruise.
Correct.
And since the refund hadn't come back yet, you paid for the second cruise.
Correct.
And your daughter didn't pay you back when she got the refund.
Correct.
She says that the second cruise was a gift.
Absolutely not.
That's your defense. Is that right?
Yes.
When were you planning to go on this cruise, Miss Power?
The first cruise on Regal Cruises, we were going June 29th of 2003.
And where were you going?
We were going from New York to Canada.
Kathy, how much did you pay for that cruise for you and your 2 children? Was it 3 people going?
I paid $906, but that wasn't a full total.
When did you pay that money?
Throughout January to May of 2003.
Great. When were you advised, Miss Power, that the cruise was canceled?
I was advised in May of 2003.
And did you rebook another cruise?
Yes, I did.
For the same period of time?
For the same period of time, just one day earlier, we were going to leave than previously planned.
And was that a more expensive cruise?
A few $100s more.
So what happened? You went on the cruise in June?
We went on the cruise. We had a great time. I got a refund back in February of 2004.
Did you call your daughter and ask her if she had gotten a refund back?
Yes, I was very excited I got my refund, but she didn't seem to be as excited. And she just called me up a few days later, and she said to me, now she didn't say she got her check back. She said that when she gets her check back, she'd like to use it to go to Florida on another vacation. And I said, absolutely no. I want my money back.
And she said?
And she said that no, she wasn't giving it back to me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Her daughter, Catherine Power, owes for a cruise from New York to Canada. Catherine says she's a struggling single mom, and the cruise was a gift.
Give me your version of the events that led to your belief that this was a gift to you.
The first cruise that we had purchased, actually my mom called me and said, would you like to go on a cruise and I'll help pay for it. And then she ended up paying for my sister Karen's part, but didn't help me. So I was still paying for it because I wanted to go. So I just went on about my time and got a phone call when I was at work, and she said, I purchased a new cruise. So I was like, well, Mom, I don't have money. And nothing came up about the refund check. I don't have the money to pay for it. She goes, don't worry, it's a gift. So that's how I took it as.
Kathy,
What?
your mother never said to you, don't worry, it's a gift.
She said, don't worry.
I know that she didn't say, don't worry, it's a gift, and you know she didn't say, don't worry, it's a gift. Right?
Right, but she did say,
Okay.
don't worry. She didn't say it was a gift, but she said not to worry.
Right. She didn't say it was a gift. How did I know that?
Because people don't say that.
Sure.
They just...
Because if it doesn't
Right.
sound right, it's not true.
Yeah.
So tell me what happened, Miss Power, when you got back your refund from the cruise line in February.
She said she paid for the cruise and that I was supposed to pay her back. And that was not my point of it. It was...
Well, was your point of it? Was your point of it that...
She bought a trip for the family. It was the last family trip. She felt that everyone should go on it because my father was sick, and she wanted us all together. That's what it was.
Then, Kathy, would you explain to me, if that's your rationalization for keeping the money, why is it that you testified earlier that from February until May, you were paying the travel agent, and you paid the travel agent $906 if your mother had already said to you, I want to take the family away on a trip? Now, what I think happened that really annoyed you is that your mother, according to you, chose to pay for one of your sisters to go and didn't choose to pay for you. Because you've already mentioned that once, and that, I would say, might fry you a little bit. But let me understand why your mother decided to pay for one sister and not you. You want to explain that to me?
Yes. When my daughter, Kathy, had my grandson, she had to take some leave off from work. She was on maternity leave. And during that time, my husband, Bill, and I helped her with her rent and her car payments to keep her going. And I did ask her at that time to pay me back, but she did not.
Okay, just a second. So, did your parents help you?
They came up to the house when I had Liam and watched Emerald, my daughter, and then she helped me with diapers and stuff.
$1,306 is what you intended to pay. Is that right?
Correct.
Mrs. Powell, even if you decided to go on a little bit more expensive cruise, I assume you would be perfectly happy if you got $1,306 back from your daughter. If she said to you, listen, I don't have the extra money, but here's the $1,306 that I was intending to pay for the first one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to give that back to you.
I would have been happy.
And that would have been right, Kathy.
No.
That would have been right, Kathy.
Nope.
Listen to me. You have to stop relying on other people to take care of the problems that you create. You create certain problems. You created a lifestyle for yourself. And it seems to me from listening to your mother, who's a pretty rational lady, that you have relied on other people to take care of the problems that you create. And when you listen to me, and when you turn 30, you just told me that. You just told me a moment ago that your parents came to watch your daughter when your son was born.
Correct.
And gave you a little bit of money, a little bit of help. Well, that means relying on other people for problems that you create.
They didn't have to come.
Oh, listen to me. Listen to me. Did you ever hear the expression, beauty fades, dumb is forever? Huh? Mm-hmm. All right. That's all I'm going to say. You owe your mother $1,306. That is the cost of the trip that you had originally said that you were going to take care of. You got a refund for most of it. You should have turned that refund over to your mother by signing over the check to her and saying, thanks for covering the balance. She would have been ecstatic that you did the right thing. You chose to do the wrong thing. And you can't, at your age, do the wrong thing. First of all, it sets a bad example for your children, and that's primarily why you can't do the wrong thing. Because you're supposed to set a perfect example for your children, and then you're not supposed to make your mother come and sue you. Don't say anything. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,306. That's all. Step out.
What is that excuse? Let's step out.
I'm very happy with the decision. The only thing is I just feel bad that Kathy and I have no relationship right now. And I'm just hoping that she's going to let me see the kids. That's my grandkids.
My sister might, you know, because she has my nephew, so that will be important. But if I have, I have control over my kids, they won't see my mother.
It was very hard, but I needed to get the money back.
She's controlling, and she's been controlling from all of us. I mean, her sons don't even talk to her, so...
She has to be responsible for her actions.
It was a gift. That's what it'll always be, a gift.
Maker Rose Macias is suing her brother, electrician Juan Macias, for throwing her to the ground and injuring her back. Juan says it was Rose who attacked him.
All rise. Yeah, this is case number 149 on the calendar in the matter of Macias versus Macias. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Ms. Macias, the defendant is your brother. And according to what I've read, you claim that he assaulted you almost 2 years ago. You want to be compensated for your injuries, your pain and suffering, your lost wages, etc. And your brother tells me that you were at his house, that you were the aggressor, that he asked you to leave, you refused to leave, and he was merely defending himself.
That's correct.
I gather that this problem between you and your brother started over your mother.
Yes.
When did this alleged assault take place?
May 17th, 2002.
And with whom was your mother living at the time?
She was only staying at his house temporarily.
How long had she been at your house?
About 2.5 years.
Prior to that, where had she been living?
In her home in Texas until she had a stroke.
Did she ever live with your sister prior to 2002?
No, ma'am.
Correct?
Not correct, Your Honor.
When did she live with you?
Immediately, 4 months after her stroke, while she was recovering, I took her back home to Texas. And we were there for 4 or 5 months. And then he asked her to come back because he was telling her that her...
I don't care. He took her back to his house.
Right.
All right. And she lived there not for a couple of days. She was staying there for at least a year.
Not consistently, Your Honor.
Oh, don't play with me, Miss Macias. Don't play with me. You want to tell me what happened, Miss Macias, on May 17th?
My mother had been asking me to pick her up because she was bored at his house. I went to pick her up, and I hadn't been there but 3 minutes before he showed up, Your Honor. He started to tell me that I was not supposed to be there. I did not know that. As I'm waiting for her to gather her medication, I'm helping her gather some clothing from her suitcase because the prior time she had been in my house.
Just tell me the story. He came home at 9:15 and he told you weren't supposed to be there.
Right.
And you said to him what?
I said, I just came from my mother, and he asked me to leave, and I told him I needed her medication. I could not leave without her medication.
So he asked you to leave?
Yes, and I said, I cannot leave until I get her my mother's medication. So he started pushing me out the door. The beating started. He started pushing me out the door. I told him I just want my mother's medication, and he kept on pushing me and pushing me. Eventually, I just kind of blacked out. I just fell and stood up and fell and stood up. He kept on hitting me. I don't know where the punches were coming from. Eventually, I just stood up, and I tried to kick him in the groin. I could not lift my leg up very much. My back had gone out. I had a little problem with my back. I could not lift my leg very high at all. And he grabbed my leg and shoved it over my head, shoving me against the door. And even though I have a certain amount of flexibility, the fact that my back was out at the time just really, really caused me a lot of...
Why didn't you leave when he told you to leave?
Because I needed her medicine.
You didn't need her medicine. You needed to leave.
I wanted my mother.
You come back another time for your mother. If your brother tells you to leave his home, if you remain in his home when he tells you to leave, you're trespassing.
Well, I wanted to get her clothing. I couldn't take her without she wasn't prepared.
Is there a guardianship in this case of your mother?
Your Honor, there is. I am my mother's conservator.
Can I see the papers, please?
Yes, ma'am.
You have photographs of the assault, Miss Macias?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
May I see them, please? These are rulings by the court which suggests that your brother has conservatorship over your mother.
Yes.
Really, the limited purpose of assuring that she received proper daily medical care. The court did not believe that you were in a position at that time to assume that responsibility, despite the fact that your mother seemed to indicate that you would be her preference. The court also noted in its order that you had a difficult time controlling yourself during the course of the hearings. Did you act out during the course of the hearings?
Only on 2 occasions, Your Honor, when he made very serious allegations and accusations. I was really upset because this has been going on since my mom got sick, and he has dragged me to court repeatedly trying to get restraining orders to keep me away from my mother. And I was just very upset, and this has been the hardest thing for me. I've had to go to group therapy because he has upset me.
Are you on medication, Ms. Macias?
No, Your Honor.
Had you been?
In the beginning, when I went to group therapy, before this went to the conservatorship, yes, I was taking medication for stress and depression, Your Honor. I was very upset over...
It's suggested, but it's not discussed in here,
Yeah.
but I assume that that's true.
Well, I just could not control my nerves, Your Honor.
Who took these photographs?
My son.
Okay. Most of the black and blue marks that are here were around the arm.
Yes.
Looks as if someone's trying to restrain you. Is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Macias, you want to tell me what happened?
Yes, ma'am. On the day of 5/17/2002, I did have the occasion to come by my house in the morning I had forgotten keys that I needed while on the job. I was on duty at the time. And I found my sister inside my home after I had asked her several times. I did not want her anywhere near my family because we had a record of legal incidents that had transpired up to that point. She had filed restraining orders. I had filed restraining orders. We had gone back and forth.
Put your hand down, Miss Macias.
We had gone back and forth. And we had gotten to the point where she was no longer a person that was welcome in my home.
How long had it been since your mother was out of your home?
She had just been with my sister a few days earlier for Mother's Day, the weekend before. It's just 5 days earlier.
You took her there to her house?
I believe that, I don't remember who took who. I believe that she picked her up. I don't recall the exact.
Okay, so that wasn't a problem.
It was 5 days prior.
So it wasn't a problem. She was, in fact, seeing her.
Yes, she was.
So tell me what happened when you got home looking for your keys.
When I got home, I was surprised to find her, and I asked her to please remove herself. I asked her what she was doing there, and she said she was helping Mom get her things together because she was going to take her. And I asked her, how long are you going to take her for so I can give you the right amount of pills for my mom? And she said, it's none of your business. I'll take her as long as I want to keep her. And I said, well, then, Rose, she's not going with you. And furthermore, I want you to get out of my house. So she says, I will get out of your house whenever I feel like it. She starts waving her hand in front of my face and using the F word multiple times. So I walked up to the front door. I opened it. I asked her to walk out. And when she refused to walk out, I grabbed her by the blouse, by the arm. Maybe she may have sustained those bruises. And I started walking her backwards towards the door. She immediately turned around and attacked me with martial arts moves. She went.
Just tell me how she did that.
She went. She tried to kick me in the face. I have pictures to show my injuries also. She tried to kick me in the face, which I blocked with the back part of my right arm. And then she repositioned and double punched me karate style below my left collarbone. And then she came down and tried to kick me in the groin. At that point, I blocked her kick, and I was able to hold on to her leg and raised it. And as she stated earlier, she fell inside my home, striking a piece of furniture, a china cabinet, with the back of her hand.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Her brother, Juan Macias, assaulted her by throwing her to the ground. Juan says Rose was trespassing in his home.
Where is your mother living now?
Everywhere.
What do you mean everywhere?
She bounces around from state to state, Your Honor. Ever since he got her conservatorship, immediately after he received it, he told me over the phone that my mother staying at his house was jeopardizing his job, his marriage, and his lifestyle. He has never wanted to take care of her, Your Honor. I have been her primary caretaker.
Could you just tell me where she has been living for the past year?
She has been living mostly at her home at my mother's request. After this incident happened, we went to court, and the court asked my mother again where she would prefer to reside. And based on everything that happened, and she witnessed this, she was scared, and she said, I'd rather go live with my sister at this point.
Miss Macias.
Yes.
Your mother was interviewed by the police.
Yes.
And clearly, if your mother is living with you now, your mother was not angry with you. Your mother said that she was there during this entire incident, and at no time did she ever see your brother punch you or kick you, as you have described. She, as a matter of fact, specifically says that that didn't happen. Can you explain that to me?
Yes. Your Honor, when the police department asked me what had happened, I told them that I just remember feeling punches and kicks. I didn't know. I just remember falling over and over again.
Your mother was there.
That's right. She was there, Your Honor.
And your mother said that she observed exactly what happened. Do you want me to tell you what she said?
I know exactly what she says, Your Honor.
Ms. Macias, I don't know why you're here. You both behaved badly 2 years ago. He could have been a little more temperate. He told you to leave his house. You didn't leave his house. He had the right to escort you out. You both behaved badly. What I want to know is why 2 years down the road you are deciding to sue him.
I really was trying to honor my mother's respect because my mother's begging me not to bring her to court against both of us.
Right, she's absolutely right. So
right.
Why didn't you honor her now?
And that was the reason.
So why didn't you honor her now?
Because after I found out that the DA's office had not taken care of it, Your Honor, and I continue to have so many problems and pains, and I ended up having to have a back surgery and a broken finger through this, Your Honor. I have all the records here and the doctor's report.
When you go to someone's home, even if it's your brother's home, and he tells you to leave, that you're not welcome there, and there has been a long history of applications for protective orders by you and by your brother, What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to leave. You're not supposed to argue with him.
I didn't argue, Your Honor. I just told him I needed my mother's medicine and her clothing.
Then you leave without your mother, and you make arrangements to come back and get her another time.
Well, I didn't
If
want
he
to.
tells you to leave, Miss Macias, it's not as if you hadn't seen your mother. You saw her, according to him, 5 days before at your house for Mother's Day. And he hasn't prevented you from picking her up. That day, he told you he wanted you to leave. That's what you should have done. I think that you both behaved badly, but it doesn't require a lawsuit 2 years later, and it doesn't require court involvement. And I certainly believe that you should have honored your mother's wishes, because it's a family dispute, and it should have stayed within the family. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
This is actually, I believe, the 8th or 9th time we have faced each other off in court.
All I can say is this guy is like a very, very pathological liar.
The restraining orders had to do with her stalking my young son at school.
I have never stalked his son in any way. Me and his son loved each other very much.
She threatened violence before, and she's trained in martial arts, and she's trained by the police academy. She likes to shoot, and she owns a 9mm Smith & Wesson that she's very good with.
First of all, I have never attended the police academy, which is another one of his professional lies.
I believe justice was served. I think the judge took the right avenue by seeing through the false accusations, and I feel vindicated.
Year-old machinist Kyle Franklin and his girlfriend, 20-year-old homemaker Tiffany Drury, are suing their former roommate, 20-year-old loan officer Annalisa Diaz, for unpaid rent, the cost to break the lease, and a phone bill.
All rise. Quiet in the courtroom, please. Yeah, this is case number 36 on the calendar in the matter of Franklin Drury versus Diaz. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated, gentlemen. Have seats.
I assume that this wasn't serendipity that you chose the same ties. Is that right?
Yeah.
Sweet touch. Okay. According to your complaint, you and this young lady used to be friends. You decided that you would take an apartment together, took the apartment together, and according to your complaint, she owes you money because she moved out of the apartment prior to the termination of the lease, causing you expense. She did not pay for the last month that she should have paid. She did not pay to have the lease broken, and there was also an extant phone bill that you believe she's responsible for. Ms. Diaz says, A, she paid the phone bill.
Right.
B, she wasn't even on the lease. And she was being a good guy because she even paid you 1 extra month when she wasn't living there. So, when did you move in together and why?
Well, actually, we moved in July 2003. And we both agreed that we was going to move into a 3-bedroom apartment.
Okay. Where were you living before July of 2003?
At her parents' house.
Have you been together for a long time?
Yes, ma'am.
How long?
About a year and a half.
Oh, an eternity. How old are you?
19.
And you?
20.
Are you living together now?
Yes, we have a child together.
But you're not married?
No.
Any particular reason for that?
No.
Well, people who are together for a year and a half don't necessarily have to get married, but when you have a child together, usually that suggests that you've made a commitment. I mean, this is always a curious thing for me to discuss. I know Bert is particularly interested in this because he has young daughters. So he would like to know the answer to this question. Why no marriage?
We want to have a big wedding and we don't have the money for it. So we're saving up for it. I mean...
well, that's great, but you don't have a baby beforehand. Baby, you don't make a flower child, you know, a flower girl, a flower boy.
But basically, being married is just a written paper. Our commitment to each other is, just as good as marriage.
Do you work?
No, I stay home with my daughter.
Do you work?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a machinist.
How much money do you earn?
$10.91 an hour.
How old is your baby?
4 months.
You receive any sort of state aid? No. Look at me. Any sort of state aid?
WIC.
So you receive some sort of state aid for the baby?
Ma'am.
Does the government know you live together?
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
We just moved into our new apartment.
So before that, they didn't know you were living together?
Right.
See, you always have to follow the money. Mm-hmm. Following the money is real important. So it's a little bit of commitment and a little bit of WIC. So you decided to move into an apartment together, the three of you. When was that? July?
July 2003.
And who signed the lease?
Me and her did.
Her child.
And actually her child was on the lease with us.
Child?
Yeah, her child. She told us that she didn't want to. Well, she told us that she couldn't be on the lease because her credit was bad. Some people had messed up her credit when she had.
Whatever it was, she was not on the lease. And how old is her child?
2.5.
A child can't sign the lease.
No, he didn't sign it. She gave us permission to put him on the lease so we could get a 3-bedroom.
It doesn't make any difference. She didn't sign the lease. So the two of you signed the lease and she did not. Moved into an apartment in July. The lease was for how long?
13 months.
When did you move out?
I moved out in January, but I didn't get my stuff out until March.
March? When in March?
The second week of March.
Oh, so did you pay rent through March?
No.
Why not?
I paid February's rent because I left on like the last week of January, so I knew I needed to pay February. I went to get my belongings before February was up, and I was unable to get everything because I only had someone's truck for a certain amount of time.
Is this the boyfriend?
Yes.
He should have gone with you to get the stuff out.
He was with me.
Good, so you should have gotten it all out in February. You left your stuff there. You're responsible for your share of March's rent, which was how much?
$393.
That you got. Now you want her also to pay for what it cost you to break your lease. Why?
Well, we agreed back in January. We started talking about if we decided to move out and get different apartments that we would both use our tax money and split the difference, which was $785.
I don't see her responsible for breaking your lease, for what it cost you to break your lease. She's not on the lease.
But she agreed. She told us that she would.
We had a verbal agreement.
Yeah, she agreed that she'd pay half.
Our verbal agreement also considered him living there and helping me pay my half. But then they decided they didn't want him there, and that's when the whole discussion of us moving out even came up.
Why didn't they want him there?
There was issues between. I mean, it was too crowded for one. When their baby came, it was agreed upon when we first moved in that their daughter and my son, since they were still so little, were going to be able to share a room. And when their baby came, they were given so much gifts that it ended up that my son, myself, and him were all in one bedroom. And it just started from there. We didn't have room.
Okay,
privacy.
so it wasn't a good situation.
Right.
I got it. Okay. Well, whatever other reason, it wasn't a good situation. $393 in rent. That's what they owe you so far. What about the phone bill?
Well, ma'am, the phone bill's in my name, and Adam, her boyfriend, went to Oklahoma in January, and she asked if, she could call him and accept his collect calls, and I said that it was okay as long as she paid the phone bill. Her total on the phone bill charges was $362.65. I called Mrs. Diaz on the 17th of March to remind her that the phone bill was due on the 19th. She said that she would bring the money to me on the 19th, and on the 19th she never brought me the money. So the phone bill was then late. Coincidentally, she got a note on her car saying Tiffany's taking you to court. So she calls me telling me that she sent the money to Verizon herself. Didn't have the account number or nothing. Just sent it to Verizon without letting me know, and I called Verizon all week and they never received a payment.
So you didn't get paid?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
They were given the money on the 19th.
By whom?
By myself, and he was with me.
Oh, let me hear. Tell me about it.
We went, when I got off of work that Friday, on the 19th, I got off of work. I went and got a payday loan for a majority of the money.
Show me proof of that.
Well, I have the check I wrote to the payday place, which was half of it, and the other 100 I borrowed from him. But they were given cash. I don't have proof because I didn't think I needed to get a receipt
any cash,
from a friend.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Kyle Franklin and his girlfriend, Tiffany Drury, claim former roommate Annalisa Diaz owes for breaking an apartment lease, unpaid rent, and a phone bill.
Go ahead.
At one point, I was going to mail it directly to the phone company, and I wanted the account number it would be applied to. She did not want to give that to me, so
No,
that's
she
a lie,
said she was going to send the check to the phone company, but she never had the account number, so we didn't understand why she would send a check with no account number. And she actually said that that they charged the money that she sent for our account, they charged to her other account, which some other roommates of hers.
She had a bad account, and they put the money towards that instead of my account.
Well, that's an interesting story to make up.
That was the story that I said I wasn't going to do because I figured that was what was going to happen. Because
so you remember having listen to me. Therefore, what you're telling me, Ms. Diaz, is the statements that the plaintiff made about you saying, I'm going to send the money directly, did happen, but just didn't happen the way they just told me it happened.
Right.
Now, you owe Verizon an old bill. Is that right?
Yes.
How old?
2 years.
So you scammed Verizon out of $100, $50, $200 by using their services and not paying for it.
No, it was another roommate situation where my bill was ran up and I'm not going to pay it.
So she's doing the same
So
thing
she
to
turned
us.
around and said it to us.
Ms. Diaz, I don't believe you. I don't believe that you gave him any cash. You can sit down because I don't want you to have to trip over your tie and lying for her. Do you understand what I'm saying to you, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
We understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
That's a very good thing, because otherwise I have to eat you for breakfast, and I've already had breakfast, so I'm kind of full right now. You owe him for a month's rent and for your phone bill. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $755.65. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It just wasn't a good situation. We should have never got into it in the first place.
We were pretty close with them, but now we don't really talk anymore.
They just told me they didn't want me there no more. I mean, basically, that was it.
I'm just, glad it's done and everything. We just learned a lesson not to have roommates.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Eden versus Neely. Step forward, please.
18-year-old student Desiree Eden is suing her father's girlfriend, EMT tech Susan Neely, for the return of payments on a Dodge Neon she repossessed. Susan is countersuing for the vehicle's unpaid balance and insurance payments.
Who are you?
I'm the dad.
Why don't you stand up, sir? Miss Eden, while this gentleman, who's your father, is not a defendant, I'm going to have him stand here because I think it's important. Miss Neely is your father's girlfriend. They live together, is that right?
Yes.
According to what I read, a couple of years ago, you needed a car. You were living with your father and his girlfriend. And Miss Neely agreed to buy a car. You were underage, so it was in her name. And tell me what the agreement was.
The agreement was that I paid the car payments on the car as it came. I paid the $1,000 down plus the car payments on it.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
From when to when?
From November 2003 to November 26th of 2004.
And you made the payments every month?
Yes.
Who paid the insurance?
I paid it when she asked for it.
The agreement was that you would make the monthly payments?
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Neely, is it correct that Miss Eden made the monthly payments on the car from November of 2003 to November of 2004?
Her last payment was on November the 12th.
So the answer would be yes?
Yes.
Okay. Now, what happened in November of 2004?
Okay, the day after Thanksgiving, she decided that she was going to move out and move in with her boyfriend. And I told her she could not take the car because that car was in my name. It was titled in my name. And I would not let her have it because if something should happen and they go out and have a wreck and kill somebody, it comes back on me. So I told her she had to leave the car with me, and if she came with the balance owed against the car, then I would sign it over to her.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Just a second.
She did not come up with the $2,201.93 that was owed against the car, so I would not allow her to have it.
Well, wasn't your agreement. Ms. Neely, that wasn't your agreement.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Eden says her father's girlfriend, Susan Neely, illegally repossessed her car. Susan says she took the car away when Desiree moved in with her boyfriend.
When did you turn 18?
May 23rd.
Of 2004?
Of 2004.
Once she turned 18 and continued to make the payments, and you continued to accept the payments, that contract that you had with her, that verbal contract, was ratified, which meant it became a contract. That contract's terms were very simple. You make the payments until the car is paid off, I'll sign the title over to you. That was your contract.
But she's no longer making payments.
She stopped making payments because you wouldn't let her take the car.
Correct.
What we're talking about is an anticipatory breach, which is you said to yourself, I'm not so sure whether she's going to continue to make the payments on the car if she's not here and living with the boyfriend, so I'm not going to let her have the car. That's what you really said.
Well, our insurance company told us that
Hey, don't tell me what your insurance company told you. The insurance company cannot interpret a contract that you had with her.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Also, when it was told to her when we decided to get the car for her, it was also told that she would stay in school, and it depended on her grades. That way we could also use the car. If she starts slipping a little bit, we could take the car away from her.
She hadn't slipped? Sir, she just decided to move out and move in with her boyfriend.
Exactly. But after that is when she lost her job. She quit school.
I did not.
But just a
Your
second.
Honor.
Just a second. Mr. Eden, at the time she left, she was making the payments.
Yes.
She was in school.
Yep.
And she had a job.
Yes.
You can't anticipate what's going to happen afterwards. Where's the car now?
It is at my house.
They have it for sale for $2,500.
Car is hers.
Okay, who pays the rest of the...
She does.
Okay. Does she pay that to us or to the car dealership or...
Are you working?
No, ma'am.
Well, how are you going to make the payments on the car?
Well, I just moved back into my mom's here recently. I have to get another job.
Where's the boyfriend?
Right here.
How come you moved out of his house?
We both moved into my mom's house. We were having too much problems in Monette where we were living with him. He had assaulted me shortly after I moved out.
Who did?
My father. I had to get a restraining order against him on December 8th. He assaulted me on December 7th.
About what?
About he was mad that I moved out and I was living with him.
Does he work?
Yes, he does.
What does he do?
He is
Don't
in
look down.
factory.
What?
Factory.
And what about you?
I'm in school, high school.
How do you do in high school?
I do really good. I have good grades.
You do really well.
I do really well. I try.
I have a report card from when she left.
We don't need you to do any negatives.
Okay, I just sort of...
Listen to me. Is he in school?
No, he's not.
How old is he?
22.
Do you have the ability to do better in school?
Yes, ma'am.
It's really dumb to hitch your wagon to a star when you're 18 years old, especially when the star isn't such a star. Unless you get an education, it's going to be a struggle your whole life. You want to struggle your whole life?
No, Your Honor.
You know what I'm saying to you?
Yes, ma'am.
You look like you have the potential to do okay. Unless you recognize your potential, you're going to be clawing at life your whole life. I think that taking back this car is probably going to be a terrible burden for you, financially, because you don't have the money for it now, right?
Right.
So you put in $4,000 into the car in the year that you had it, in payments that you made.
Correct.
Let's say you had to rent a car, a basic car, for the year. That would have cost you about $2,000 or $166 a month, basic. So you have the following choice. Either you assume full financial responsibility for this car, or I'm prepared to award you half of what you're requesting, which is $2,000, which might give you an opportunity of going and finding a good second-hand car that wouldn't give you any further payments. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
And then Ms. Neely and your father can go and sell this car. If they make a profit, fine. If they don't, fine. You think that's a smarter idea for you?
Yes, I do, because I don't know what they've done. I'm not sure what they've done to the car since I haven't had it.
Well, I don't think they've purposely done anything. They're trying to sell it. All right. You can't anticipate a breach of a contract. You had an agreement with this young lady, and she fulfilled her end of the agreement. She used the car for a year, over a year. She understands that that's wear and tear on the car. I'm awarding her $2,000. Be smart. Buy wheels so that you can get yourself to and from school and to and from a part-time job. Do well in school. Think a little higher than what you know. You know, think a little higher, think. Can I reach my potential, and what is that?
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
You don't have any children, do you?
Oh, no.
Right?
Right.
Right?
Right.
And you don't plan on any for a while, right?
No, ma'am.
Very smart. Make sure. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,000. That's all.
You messed up out.
We went driving around. He got upset because we were going to get married and hit me a couple times.
No, I never assaulted my daughter.
She moved out, moved in with me, and we had trouble ever since.
He basically told her that she couldn't go around anybody and do anything. We couldn't come around her.
They like to lie, and they're
suspicious people, I think.
They got what they deserve. They put her through a lot of trouble when I first met her.
They're portraying to be such innocent people right now, and they've got plans to move to Illinois just as soon as they get the money to go, and I think they just got their money.
I think when he grows up and becomes a man, then he can realize what he's missed out on throughout the years.
For things to turn out like this, it's just something I don't know if I'll ever get over. I don't know if she'll ever get over.
Charles Kerper is suing musician Luther Fortenberry for breach of contract and copyright infringement.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Hi. Case 2081, Kepper versus Fortenberry.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Kerper, it is your claim that the defendant breached a contract with you. The contract was a verbal contract. And the nature of that breach was the defendant envisioned in his mind the lyrics to a song. That was his business. And he asked, according to you, he asked you to put music to the lyrics. Am I understanding that correctly?
The latter part is true. However, it was more than just a verbal contract. It's also in writing.
Okay, I'm going to take a look at it.
Okay.
That's important. And according to your complaint, you did in fact write the music.
Correct.
To his lyrics.
That is correct.
And you had an agreement in writing that you would share the profits of any exploitation of that song.
That is correct.
With him.
Yes.
And that he breached that agreement.
Yes, there was also an agreement that he would give me proper credit whenever he was using that.
So now I would like to see, if you say there was a written contract that's signed by both parties. That's what I want to see.
Okay. So this was the original version, which he offered me 25%.
Just a second.
Sorry.
Okay. This contract is pretty straightforward, and it's signed by both parties, and it says Luther Winston Fortenberry created a song, Baby I Got a Gun, and Charles Kerper, that's you, transcribed it to guitar.
Correct.
So what this contract says, I just want you to understand, Mr. Kerper, is that the defendant created the song, and you transcribed it to guitar. That's what it says. And that was written in January of 2016.
Correct.
It's signed by both people.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, what you're showing me is something else.
How it started to change over time.
Listen to me. This was your written contract.
Right.
Any change in that contract, unless I could really find that there was a meeting of the minds with regard to it, has to be in the same formality of this contract. This initial contract is very clear. It does not say that you created this music. I'm telling you what this initial contract says. By the way, Mr. Fortenberry, this contract was written January 30th, 2016.
Yes, I'm looking at it.
Yes. When did you create this song? In what month and year?
About a year. I don't know exactly, but I was at a popular comedy store, and the manager of our show.
What show?
The Ding Dong Show.
What's the Ding Dong Show? When you said our show, was he involved in that?
Just with this transcription.
I was involved with other elements of the music as well, with Mr. Fortenberry.
Well, right now this says transcribe. And what I asked you, a simple question, when did you write this song?
At least a year before this contract.
At least a year before January 30th, 2016.
Yes. And I was singing it regularly a cappella at the club.
Okay. But you asked him to transcribe it. That's what it says. Now, this was done at the time that you transcribed it to guitar.
I would argue I'd never transcribed it because...
That's it. Just a second. That's what this says. It doesn't say we'll transcribe it. It said transcribed it.
Correct.
To a guitar that they both agreed to submit for sale.
Correct.
Asking price will be $10,000 to rent and $10 million to sell it outright, and you will split it 75-25. That's what this says.
That is correct.
Now, did you ever rent it?
I never rented it or sold it.
Just a sec. Well, I'm asking you these questions. You never rented it?
No.
And $10 million to sell it outright, and you never sold it?
No, ma'am.
Okay. So it was neither rented nor sold, which was your original contract. And you have no proof to the contrary, that he neither rented it nor sold it.
I have evidence that he did use it in other
It doesn't say that you can't use it.
Right, that is correct.
Okay. Now you want to show me, sir, because this is what your action is. You want to show me that this original agreement
yes.
was somehow modified
correct.
to give you a wider berth
This is correct.
Okay, so I'd like to see what you have in writing.
Okay. So immediately after that was signed, about 4 or 5 days later, you have the papers that's stapled behind. I confronted Mr. Fortenberry and I said, this is not a transcribing project. This is a rewriting project. What he provided to me was not usable for transcription. And on the next page, we have a text message exchange that I highlighted where he
Well, just a
changes...
second. Shh.
Sorry.
Well, this is a text message from him to you.
Correct. And he
right?
acknowledged...
And well, just a second. Yeah. That's not acknowledging. That's a text message from him to you. Do you have your response to this? You can't unilaterally change a contract that's in writing. I mean, if you have an offer and an acceptance.
Right.
So where is your response to this?
I don't believe I had a response in the history of messages I was able to retrieve, so...
Then this is irrelevant.
Okay.
So far, we have this. We have a writing signed by both parties, which is complete. It says what you did, you will be paid in the event of a rental or a sale. Now, you want to show me something else?
So going forward, what he did was he registered the song with a registration company in San Diego. He did that without my knowledge.
Just a second, that's irrelevant. This is your contract. Show me where it's a violation of this contract. This contract says you transcribed it to guitar. If the version that you transcribed with a guitar is either rented or sold, you will get 25% of the revenue.
Right.
So we already went through that. You do not have any proof that he either rented it or sold it. It doesn't say that you will be given credit. It doesn't say what your credit will be. If you have a modification where he agreed that you will get certain credit and you accepted that, I will see that. Okay.
This is the most recent agreement signed in August 21st, 2018. It's dated August 8th.
I don't know what this means. Mr. Kerper agrees to release Mr. Fortenberry from any financial liability for work performed prior to the date of this document, that is prior to 2018.
Correct.
Payment by Mr. Fortenberry to Mr. Kerper will be considered compensation for his time, costs, etc. Mr. Kerper has invested in this ongoing project to date. What did he pay you? Because it doesn't say here.
He didn't pay me anything. What he did was he gave me some camera equipment, which he'd promised me, which was outside of this project. And he gave me $300 as what was deemed a celebratory gift because we were wrapping this up.
No, that's not what this says, Mr. Kerper. Mr. Kerper, we read a contract literally.
Right.
This is a poorly crafted document, but it's clear in regards to baby, I got a gun.
Right.
Mr. Kerper, that's you, agrees to release Mr. Fortenberry of any financial liability for work performed prior to the date of this document.
Correct.
Payment by Mr. Fortenberry to Mr. Kerper will be considered compensation for time, costs Mr. Kerper has invested in this ongoing project. And what you're telling me is the payment was some camera equipment and $300.
I would say it was not the camera equipment, it was the $300.
What the camera equipment?
This is some camera equipment I had. I had sold him some of it prior, and he had offered it back to me as a gift because I had invested so much work into this project.
You got 5 more minutes of my time.
Okay.
You have no case.
I believe I do, ma'am.
No.
I'm sorry, Your Honor.
Sorry, you don't.
Charles Kerper claims musician Luther Fortenberry owes for breach of contract and copyright infringement.
Now, those are the 2 written contracts. You have any further modification of those contracts in writing?
Yes,
Just a second. I'll see them.
Okay.
This is a contract in writing, 2018. This is 2016. And this was agreed by both parties. So the last agreement was you got $300. Did you pay him $300?
$300 in camera equipment, about $1,500 worth.
Okay. He started to mention that, and then he backtracked. Okay. Next written contract after 2018.
Yes. In that contract, which you have right now, it also says it serves to clarify previous misunderstandings that I wrote the music and I was not a transcriptionist.
Mr. Kerper is to be understood as the music man behind the music and not a transcriptionist. Well, who do you want that to be noted by? Mr. Kerper is to be understood as the music man with capital letters.
Right.
And I don't know what that means.
This was his wording.
Well, then you should have fixed the wording.
I should have. You're correct.
I don't know what a music man is. It's not a trademark. It's not a copyright. It's a nothing. I don't know what it means.
So I wrote the music, which is in the version which he's using currently. I wrote that from scratch. There was no transcribing.
That doesn't say that. Nothing here says that. The only thing this says is Luther Winston created this song, Baby I Got Gun. That says he created it, you signed it. You wanted to clarify it. You wanted to be known as the music man, not just the transcriber. I don't know what music man means. And you got paid pursuant to this, although it doesn't say this, but you acknowledge it. You got paid $300.
Okay. Also in that agreement, it also says that I'll be given credit in future uses. It says that.
As the music man. You want him to say you're the music
credit,
man?
Which he did not give me
Just
credit.
a second. You want him to say, whenever he performs the song, Baby You Got Gun, if he gets up to perform that, I wrote this song together with Mr. Kerper, and I want you to understand that he's the music man. It's interesting when people sign contracts and they have no idea what they're doing. Okay, let me see the next contract that you have.
So this is an agreement which is supposed to be a performance agreement with his producer from the comedy club.
Well, just a second, let me take a look at it.
He's...
Shh. Well, this is exactly what this says. This says this agreement, and this is August of 2018. And who sent this, by the way?
Mr. Fortenberry sent that to me.
Okay, it said this agreement gives Luther the right to perform music as the opportunity arises. Luther is further released of any further financial responsibility or debt owed making music. Charlie Kerper will be referred to in the future as the music man. This payment will be for goods and costs making music for $300 and camera equipment. If any referral is made in the future as to who wrote and performed parts of said music above, Charlie Kerper will be given those credits.
Correct.
Okay? He sent that to you. Where is your response?
So he sent that back to me on August 8th.
Just a second.
Okay.
He sent this to you. So I would like to see your response to this. I agree to your terms. I disagree with your terms. If you agree with the terms, then I might accept that as a modification of a contract. If you say I disagree with the terms, then there is no modification. We go back to these two signed agreements.
Correct.
Where is your response to that?
Can I explain what happened after that? He's emailed that to me. I was here in LA, and I didn't have an opportunity to entirely go over it, but we were trying to meet with him at a restaurant and also at the museum to have this resolved. So I had my phone only to look at it, and he was playing hardball with me that day. So he sent me these emails saying he had signed these agreements which included making referral to me and clarifying that I did in fact write the music, which he claims I transcribed.
I need your response to him.
Okay.
If there is no response, we have these two agreements.
So the response was this. That night, he finally agreed to meet with us.
In writing.
Yes.
I want what you sent to him in response to this email.
Well, I called him on the phone and I said, can we meet so we can sign this and put this fast so the music video could be moved forward? And he wanted a performance agreement so there wasn't any questions whether or not they could use the music in the video. So I arrived at his apartment. He made us wait outside for half an hour.
Okay, Mr. Kerper, I really don't care.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's not relevant.
Yeah.
What's relevant is if you had a subsequent offer and acceptance to a new contract, a modified contract that he made via email, and you responded to him via email that I accept those terms, or if you sent it to him and said, these are the terms I want, and he wrote back and I accept your terms, unless you have that, you are bound by these two written contracts, which means you got paid. You got paid $300 and some equipment. You got paid. Right. And according to this contract, when referring to this music and referring to you, he has to refer to you as in capital letters, the music man.
Correct. Giving me credit. Correct.
No, he has to refer to you as the music man.
It says here in this contract, I'm sorry, if any referrals made in the future as to who wrote and performed parts of said music above, Charlie Kerper will be given those credits.
As a music man.
No, it does not say music man here.
Where?
It should say it in the, not that one. Not that one either, the other one.
There's no other, I only have two written contracts.
This is his original email to me that he sent me before the contract
I don't
we're
want,
discussing, and it has my response. I have my response attached to it here. I'm sorry, Your Honor.
wrote, your offer is hostile and very lowball for what you're asking.
I wrote that.
I reject it.
Absolutely.
I'm not interested in selling.
That is correct.
Well, that doesn't modify. That means he made you a subsequent offer after these two agreements. You said, I don't like that offer. So there was no change in these two written contracts, one of which called for payment, which you acknowledge you received in the form of $300 and camera equipment.
Charles Kerper is accusing musician Luther Fortenberry of breaking their contract. Luther claims he already paid Charles for his services.
Mr. Kerper, I want you to understand, you're looking at papers. What you're not understanding is, if you are going to modify a written contract, you have to do it with another contract in which there is an offer and an acceptance. He made an offer to you in this. You rejected the offer in your response.
Actually, that email he sent first, he worded it differently, and that's
the point. It doesn't matter. You rejected it.
I rejected the part that included the sale.
Just a second. You can't take pieces of what he says. If you're going to modify a contract, which is clear, or as clear as it can be if two lay people write it, and which has been executed and fulfilled by terms of payment, because there was an exchange of cash and goods, which is indicated in here, you have to have a modified contract.
Correct.
This is not a modified contract. He says to you, this is what I'm going to do, and you said to him, I reject it. It's a low ball offer. So we're going to get back to, is there a subsequent modification that says, in addition to the $300 and the camera equipment and the fact that I will refer to you if I refer to anyone when he's singing the song, which I've never heard. I've heard of patter, where somebody talks about patter, and so-and-so wrote the song, and he wrote it when he was mourning the death of his dog, and then sings the song. That's patter. That's what I understand patter is, the chatter before. So if he was going to chatter about who wrote the song, he'd have to say, and the man behind the music is Mr. Music Man. That's all this says. And he's never sold it, and he's never rented it that you can establish.
He has used it in film productions?
He can use it. Your contract doesn't prevent him from using it, sir.
The final, I'm sorry, but the first one I gave you is the final. That was what led up to the...
No, this is a clarification, because you asked, right? And this is your final payment, $300 and camera equipment, because that's what you both agree that you got. There is no modification.
There is, though.
Well, then show me.
On the top line of the final, it says it'll be used exclusively in the Ding Dong Show and nowhere else without permission. And that is what is...
Just a second. It says this agreement gives Luther Fortenberry the right to perform name music in the Ding Dong Show and the promotional video.
Correct.
And?
That's it.
So?
So that is what he's limited to as far as performance.
Okay. And?
And he went and used my music in other productions without consulting me. Okay. I also have lyric sheets showing that...
Listen to me, sir.
Yes.
I've already explained to you what this case is about. It's a contract case.
Okay.
I'm not going to go through contracts 1 and contracts 2. It was painful enough when I went through it the first time, half a century ago.
Yeah.
What I'm telling you is you have no modification of a contract unless there's an offer and acceptance. The only 2 contracts you have are here. I absolutely read this, and it says this agreement gives Luther Fortenberry the right to perform music named in the Ding Dong Show and promotional video.
Correct.
That's what it says. You say he used it in other places.
That is correct.
There's no remedy if he uses it in other places. You only have a remedy, sir, if he sells it or rents it. And you're not asking for injunctive relief. There's no action.
He did with it, to be honest.
What?
I don't know what he's done. I've asked him for a complete statement of where he's used this.
Just
and
a
what
second.
payment.
Mr. Kerper.
Yes.
You're the plaintiff.
Yes.
It's not his burden. It's your burden. What you're saying is he was limited to using it on one particular program, according to this, and promotional. And he's used it in other places. And I said, put your hand down. When it doesn't appear that you're losing, you're supposed to keep your mouth closed. It's your burden to show me that he used it in other places. That's first.
Okay.
Show me.
I can do that. Just, I have the papers. I had it quite orderly before I came into court, and that's nerves happen.
You can look for it, sir. I'm just advising you that your action is for breach of contract. That's what you filed. Right now, I have 2 contracts. One contract was fulfilled with the payment of $300 and camera equipment. There is an agreement here, however, that says he can use that music on certain things. It doesn't say exclusively on certain things. He says he can use it on the Ding Dong Show and promotional video. I assume promotional video, if you're inferring what that means, is for the Ding Dong Show. Now, it doesn't say it. If he uses the music someplace other than the Ding Dong Show and promotional video and he gets paid for it, I get a certain amount of money. Your original contract provides for a 75-25 split if the music is rented or sold.
Right.
That's what it provides for.
So when I accepted the payment on the contract, that was with the notion that he was going to give me credit in the future, which he has not done.
Okay, we're done here, Mr. Kerper. It's unfortunate, but you are bound by the terms of this contract. The terms of the contract are absolutely clear. You have one in 2018, and you have one in 2016. The one in 2016 is crystal clear. You're a transcriber, and as a transcriber, you will get 25% if the music is either rented or sold. Subsequently, there was a writing that says you don't want to be known as the transcriber, you want to be known as the music man.
Your Honor, so I did not transcribe anything. I wrote the music,
okay.
And that's
Mr.
why the
Kerper, we're done. You got paid
paper.
$300 for writing the music and camera equipment. We're done. Your case is dismissed.
This court is adjourned.
Mr. Fortenberry approached me to transcribe a piece of music he
Well, I'm sorry she had to listen to so many lies.
presented me as completed, which it was not.
And I'm glad she had something in print like contracts.
I helped develop the lyrics further and also write the music.
I hoped that he would see the truth.
Well, there's always more songs, isn't there?
And correct his lies.
While I really appreciate that these 2 plaintiff and defendants had a written contract, it's always a risk as a layperson to write a contract yourself. It has to be fully integrated, all the points have to be hit, and one major part that was lacking here was a remedy section. So if the plaintiff is claiming that he deserves some sort of credit or some sort of payment for a show or an exploitation of the song going forward, there needs to be a sentence at least. That's a meeting of the minds as to what's going to happen if that condition is not met. In the future.
In the future, because the contract, the second contract in 2018, clearly said he was paid. And he was paid.
He signed it.
And he signed it. He was paid $300 and some camera equipment. The defendant said it was worth $1,500. I don't know whether it was or it wasn't. Anyway, it was inartfully done. You have to give them credit for trying.
Yes.
For trying. You know, they're music people. They're artists.
Yeah. Language and specifics and details is more our forte as lawyers.
More important, it's so frightening that I think I have a memory somewhere back here of the Ding Dong Show. So I'm going in the back now and look up the Ding Dong
Show. I'd like to hear that origin story.
Case 2053, Johnson versus Blue. All parties, please come forward.
Rochelle Johnson is suing her sister-in-law, Monique Blue, and her brother, Antonio Blue, for unpaid rent and window blinds.
Ms. Johnson, the defendant is your brother.
That is correct.
And his co-defendant, your brother's wife. You had a home that was located in what state?
California.
Several years ago, you decided to move out of state, I think to Arizona?
Yes.
And at that time, you discussed with your brother and his wife renting your home. You entered into a lease with them. Was it a 2-year lease?
Yes, ma'am.
And it was a written lease?
Yes.
Do you have a copy of that lease?
I do.
I'd like to see it, please.
That's a 2-year, and I also have a 6-month.
No,
Okay.
just the first lease first, because I'm old and I can only absorb a certain amount of facts at one time. It's a pretty straightforward lease. It's a lease for 24 months, starting the 1st of July, 2019, and terminating on July 1st, 2021. $1,600 a month rent, there's a small security deposit, and all the other terms and conditions are rather standard. Your complaint says that when you went to the state of Arizona, ultimately you ascertained that your health coverage, your lifetime health coverage, was not covered in the state of Arizona. You decided you wanted to move back to California. You don't even have to give a reason why you want to move back to California. You can move back to California into your house on July 1st, 2021. You understand that?
Yes.
Great. And you came back to California on what date?
I don't recall the exact date, But I also extended a 6 month.
I understand. When did you come back to California? In March. That's what you said here. I think in March.
Okay, right now I don't recall.
I think in March of 2022 is when you ultimately came back because they vacated sometime the beginning of March.
No. I came back prior to that. I stayed with my son for a year until
the lease was up.
Yes, ma'am.
Your son lives in California?
Yes, Beaumont, California.
Now, I'd like to see the extension of the lease for 6 months. Okay, so you acknowledge, Mr. and Mrs. Blue, that the 6 month extension that you both signed terminated on December 31st.
Yes.
Did you vacate the house on December 31st?
No, we hadn't found a place yet.
That's not her problem. That would be your problem. Did she give you permission to stay beyond December 31st? On what date, sir, did you close on that property?
I can't remember offhand.
We're not talking about so long ago.
February 7th is listed as the closing date.
That sound familiar? That's what it says.
Yes.
Well, then you had 3 weeks to move in.
Rochelle Johnson claims her sister-in-law, Monique Blue, and her brother, Antonio Blue, owe for unpaid rent and window blinds. Monique and Antonio are countersuing for harassment and invasion of privacy.
Okay. Did she give you permission to stay beyond December 31st?
No.
So you stayed beyond December 31st. Were you there in January?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh is not an answer. Yes. Were you there in February?
Yes.
Were you there on March 1st?
Yes.
On March 2nd?
Yes.
On March 3rd?
Yes.
On what day in March did you move out?
March 5th.
Did you pay rent in the month of January?
No.
February?
No.
March?
No.
Okay, that's what she's suing for.
Right.
Well, you have a defense for not paying rent for those 3 months, which you clearly occupied her premises. Who wants to tell me why you didn't pay rent?
She told us in the beginning we were supposed to buy the house. We did numerous renovations to our house. We cleaned it up. And when we first moved in July 1st, it wasn't move-in ready.
I don't care. You lived there. Not only did you live there, you executed a second lease for another 6 months. You lived there from the beginning of the lease up until March 5th, which is 3 months beyond when you were supposed to be there. I'm waiting for a defense and not paying rent.
Yes. For July 2019, when we first moved in, the house was hideous. She had stuff in every room. We weren't able to move our stuff in.
Did you live there?
Yes, we had nowhere else to go.
I don't care. You had a choice. If the house wasn't in move-in condition, you break your lease, but you don't say at the end of the lease, by the way, when we were there 2.5 years ago, the house wasn't ready for us to move in. It wasn't in condition that we liked. We lived there anyway. So that's not an excuse for not paying rent at the other end. Anything else?
Yeah. She offered to give us the last month rent that we were there for free.
The last month?
The last month rent. I have the papers.
Well, I'd like to take a look at that, but you owe 3 months.
3 months? We moved off March 5th.
I don't care. You were there March 1st. That's the month.
Okay.
Did you indicate to them that you would give them a month off the rent?
Oh, no, ma'am.
She says that you did. I'd like
to see her evidence as well.
No, just shh. No, she agreed to waive the final month's rent for the period of April 1st, 2022 to May 2nd, 2022. You were gone in March.
Right.
And your lease, for some reason, she agreed to waive rent for a month that you weren't there. She didn't waive January, February, or March. She agreed to waive it April 1, 2022 to May 2nd, 2022. That's no evidence that she waived any rent.
We moved out in March 5th. Why do we still owe her for March?
Because you were there in March.
Okay.
If she was using the premises as a rental premises and you were leaving at the end of February, then she would have been able to rent her premises beginning March 1st. You don't move out until March 5th. The beginning of March. That means she needs a couple of days or any landlord would need a couple of days to put the place in order and re-rent it. They wouldn't be able to re-rent until April. So you were there. Is there any reason you stayed until March 5th instead of... Just a second. You didn't let me finish the question. Is there any reason why you didn't move out the last day in February and instead stayed into March?
Because our house wasn't ready yet.
What do you mean it wasn't ready?
We wasn't ready to move in there yet.
What was wrong with it? Where did you move?
Victorville, California.
Okay. To what kind of property?
We bought a house.
Okay. When did you buy the house? What month?
We did close January something.
So you bought the house in January.
Mm-hmm.
When you inspected the house that you bought, did you buy it furnished or unfurnished?
Unfurnished.
Did you have furniture in the plaintiff's house?
Yes.
You'll give her the address so she can check.
Yes.
Great. Sarah, just look it up for me, please. On what date did you close on that property?
February?
No, don't.
February.
On what date, sir, did you close on that property? It's probably in the record.
I can't remember offhand.
We're not talking about so long ago. Is there an address?
February 7th is listed as the closing date.
2/7. So the house became yours on February 7th. That sound familiar? That's what it says.
Yes.
Well, then you had 3 weeks to move in, to get it ready.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well,
All right. Fine. So you owe her 3 months' rent at $1,600 a month.
What about the renovations we did to our house?
Who cares? I live in a place for a couple of years, and I make changes to the place that I find make it more comfortable. There's nothing in this lease agreement that says that she has to reimburse you for things that she did, and this is not a rent-to-buy agreement. This is a straight tenancy agreement.
We were supposed to buy her house.
There are agreements that are rent-to-buy that list what the rental is and what the ultimate purchase price will be, and whether or not you can deduct the rent that you've paid or a percentage of it from the total purchase price, or whether you cannot. This is a straight rental agreement. So if you made improvements in the house, if you painted it, if you put in new carpeting to make it more comfortable for yourself, you don't get reimbursed for that because there's nothing in your lease that requires her to reimburse you for any improvements that you make in the house. You're bound by the four corners of the contract that you signed.
Well, what about how the conditions that we moved in?
Well,
that she doesn't.
Yes. By living there for 2.5 years, without, I assume, unless you can show me, without, I assume, a written complaint to her. Do you have that? Do you have a written complaint? No. I asked you, sir.
I have pictures.
$4,800. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished. Thank you. You count the claims dismissed. It's ridiculous.
My mother's deceased, and it would actually hurt my mother to see us in court today. And that's my only regret, that I had to do that.
We're done.
The bottom line is, I am back in my house.
So I had a thought about that case because going through college, I think the first time I saw a lease was my sophomore year or so when I moved off campus. And my dad, luckily enough, was there to help me look over it and sort of teach me what a lease was, what the different sections meant, what I should really be looking out for. So in my mind, it would make sense for colleges to offer a basic life skills course to teach young incoming freshmen how to read a lease, how to negotiate on your behalf.
Did they offer that class at all to undergraduates?
It seems specified to business students or closed off to certain majors. Just to have some guidance would have been, I think, really helpful.
I think so.
Hi, xin chào các bạn. Chào mừng các bạn đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta tô màu một chú cá nóc. Màu này tô vào vây. Vậy là chúng ta đã hoàn thành xong bức tranh một chú cá nóc. Và đây là thành quả ngày hôm nay. Hẹn gặp lại các bạn ở những video tiếp theo. Hi, xin chào các bạn. Chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta sẽ cùng tô màu một ly trà sữa. Màu vịt tô chân trâu, màu nâu. Màu này tô sẽ tô cốc trà sữa màu xanh ngọc. Tô màu nền và ống hút. Vậy là chúng ta đã hoàn thành xong bức tranh một ly trà sữa. Và đây là thành quả ngày hôm nay. Hẹn gặp lại các bạn ở những video tiếp theo. Hi, xin chào các bạn. Chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta cùng tô màu bức tranh một chú chó. Mình sẽ lấy màu này tô vào tay. Vậy là chúng ta đã hoàn thành xong bức tranh một chú cún và đây là thành quả ngày hôm nay. Hẹn gặp lại các bạn ở những video tiếp theo.
Hi, xin chào các bạn. Chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta hãy cùng tô màu bức tranh ba bạn nhỏ đang lau dọn nha. Màu nâu vào tóc. Hôm nay vào tóc trai. Màu xanh và áo. Màu đen và tóc này.
Vậy là chúng ta đã hoàn thành xong bức tranh ba bạn nhỏ đang lau dọn nhà và đây là thành quả ngày hôm nay. Hẹn gặp lại các bạn ở những video tiếp theo.
Hi, xin chào các bạn. Chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta hãy cùng tô màu bức tranh mặt trăng. Sẽ lấy màu này tô cho mặt trăng.
xanh này, hòa mênh. Vậy là chúng ta đã hoàn thành xong bức tranh hình ảnh mặt trăng. Và đây là thành quả ngày hôm nay. Hẹn gặp lại các bạn ở những video tiếp theo. Hi, xin chào các bạn. Chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta sẽ cùng vào một bức tranh một chú chó. Mình sẽ lấy màu nâu tô cho chú chó. Vậy là chúng ta đã hoàn thành xong bức tranh hình ảnh một chú cún. Và đây là thành quả ngày hôm nay. Hẹn gặp lại các bạn ở những video tiếp theo. Hi, xin chào các bạn. Chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta cùng tô màu bức tranh một chiếc ô tô. Lấy màu xanh nhạt, tô vào đây. Màu xanh này vào đây.
Mét, sao rồi? Giấy của ai à? Đã đồng với ai đấy?
Vậy là chúng ta đã hoàn thành xong bức tranh một chiếc xe ô tô. Và đây là thành quả ngày hôm nay. Hẹn gặp lại các bạn ở những video tiếp theo. Hi, xin chào các bạn. Chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta cùng tô màu bức tranh một bé gái đang đạp xe đạp. Tóc mình sẽ tô màu nâu. nơ màu hồng. Áo mình cũng tô màu hồng. Quần mình tô màu tím. Màu xanh này tôi sẽ tô màu xanh. Lá cây phải sẽ ra. Vậy là chúng ta đã hoàn thành xong bức tranh một bé gái đang đi xe đạp. Và đây là thành quả ngày hôm nay. Hẹn gặp lại các bạn ở những video tiếp theo. Hi, chào các bạn, chào mừng các bạn đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta hãy cùng tô một bức tranh một luống hoa nhé. Màu vàng mình sẽ tô cho bông hoa này. Màu cam và mịn. Màu đỏ và bông hoa này.
Màu xanh nước Việt và công an này. Màu xanh này là lá. Vậy là chúng ta đã hoàn thành xong bức tranh một luống hoa. Và đây là thành quả ngày hôm nay. Hẹn gặp lại các bạn ở những video tiếp theo. Hi, xin chào các bạn. Chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta hãy cùng tô bằng bức tranh một chiếc mô tô nha. Mình sẽ lấy màu xanh đậm tô phần đầu trước, phần yên xe. Lái một tô màu xanh. Màu xanh nhạt hơn, mình sẽ tô phần yên. Bánh xe mình sẽ tô màu đen.
Vậy là chúng ta đã hoàn thành xong bức tranh một chiếc mô tô. Và đây là thành quả ngày hôm nay. Hẹn gặp lại các bạn ở những video tiếp theo. Hi, xin chào các bạn. Chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta hãy cùng tô màu cho bức tranh về hình ảnh một người mẹ đang dắt theo hai đứa con nhé. Chúng ta hãy cùng bắt đầu thôi nào. Bây giờ mình sẽ lấy màu hồng đậm để tô cho chiếc này. Chưa đến rồi. Đã xem cái đội kia đâu? Cái đội xanh xanh ấy, của Eric ấy. Dạ. Đã xem đâu? Mình sẽ lấy màu vàng để tô chút vào cho bạn này. Hi, xin chào các bạn, chào mừng các bạn đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta cùng tô màu bức tranh một bát salad. Mình sẽ lấy màu tím tô vào đây. Xanh với rau. xanh này phải không ạ? Tôi chuột. Xanh này vào đây. Một tím ở đây. Vậy là chúng ta đã hoàn thành xong bức tranh một bát salad. Và đây là thành quả ngày hôm nay. Hẹn gặp lại các bạn ở những video tiếp theo. Hi, xin chào các bạn. Chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta cùng tô màu bức tranh một cốc trà sữa. Chị lấy màu nâu tô vào chân trông. Màu xanh này mình sẽ tô vào chú ếch. Mình sẽ tung vào ống hút.
Alo bố. Con có. Dạ. Con có. Vâng. Vâng. Vâng.
Vậy là chúng ta đã hoàn thành xong bức tranh một cốc trà sữa hình chú ếch. Và đây là thành quả ngày hôm nay. Hẹn gặp lại các bạn ở những video tiếp theo. Hi, xin chào các bạn, chào mừng các bạn đã đến với kênh của mình. Hôm nay chúng ta cùng tham vào bức tranh một cốc trà sữa. Mình sẽ lấy màu cam, tô vào chú cá. Ống và bánh donut. heo và chân trâu. Vậy là chúng ta đã hoàn thành xong bức tranh một cốc trà sữa và đây là thành quả của ngày hôm nay. Hẹn gặp lại các bạn ở những video tiếp theo.